Crypto and Bitcoin ETFs are going to be the topic today. We'll dive into a little bit of that, also a little bit of the action in the market over the weekend, what it might look out leading up to the FOMC, and also a busy week ahead of you guys. So it's going to be a good show for you. My name is Paul Gerber. Welcome back into TechPath. Let's get into it today. And I want to start with our sponsor, CoinLedger. You're getting ready to do some taxes. Now you're trying to scramble around, figure out which exchange did this, which one did you trade on, all those kind of things that are really causing you probably a lot of stress right now. Just get over to CoinLedger and use our little code, just coinledger.io. Use, I think it's Baron. You get 10% off. It's very simple. It automatically integrates into a lot of these platforms you're using out there, all sorts of things, including your own ledgers, things of that nature. This is the solution to use. So definitely check them out. Just go to coinledger.io, use our code. It does help the channel out. All right, let's get into a couple of things that are happening this week. It's a big week, actually, with what has been happening over the weekend where we almost got up to 24K. Interesting with Bitcoin. We've got some stuff to share with you about that. Events this week, consumer confidence on Tuesday. Tomorrow we'll see that come in. Fed meeting, of course, the FOMC. On Wednesday, we will be live streaming that on Wednesday. I think it's afternoon, again, to you guys. So we'll get you all the detail and put it up on YouTube so you can set your notifications for it. Manufacturing data on Wednesday. I think this will be a little bit interesting. Jobs and unemployment data on Friday. This is the one I'm very interested in because this could really set up the data for the next month. And what I mean by next month, FOMC in terms of what's happening in March could be a very big indicator right now in jobs and unemployment. 15% of the S&P 500 companies are also reporting earnings this week. So very unusual that everything is kind of in this 1 week, but it's going to be a good one. Let me jump over to this other tweet. It kind of gives you a quick breakdown for the earnings of everything that's happening. I'll expand that out for you. Monday, you can kind of see the list right there. If you're listening in on the podcast, guys, jump over here to the YouTube channel. There's quite a bit there that will help you out. Not a lot on Monday outside of SoFi. Tuesday, AMD, that would be a good one. Amgen, if you're following the med space. And then obviously ExxonMobil. The other ones that I like, of course, is Meta coming in on Wednesday. That'll be interesting along with T-Mobile. Handful of others coming in on Wednesday. Thursday, the big one, Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, Qualcomm, Starbucks. This will be the day, I think, that starts to set the stock market afire. And that is going to be leading right into the jobs data on Friday. So we could be looking at a very, kind of perfect storm here in terms of traditional securities. And remember, a lot of traditional securities also play into how the risk on market deals with this. So I'd love to get you guys' input. Do you think this run on Bitcoin and Ethereum was something that is pre-FOMC, like we've seen these in the past? And do you feel like if we get the 25 and possibly some soft data numbers from the Fed, could we be looking at another quick run before the rest of the week kind of lines up? Love to get you guys' input. Make sure and drop some comments below. And the best thing you can do, of course, to help the channel out is to hit the like button. It's very simple. Just press the like button right now. You're sitting there. Maybe even if you're watching it on post, the live, hit that, because if you like these breakdowns, that's one of the things we do love about it. Let's get into this topic right here. Bitcoin profitable, 90% of trading history, now fueled by the adoption potential. And I think this is something that, again, 23, you've heard me say this many times, is Web3, crypto in general. I think we'll see a lot more adoption in this run-up. It will be another, I think, a super cycle going into our next all-time high. And I've talked to several analysts on the show here recently in the last few weeks, and many of them are really pointing to some pretty significant numbers. Now, I would say yes, but I'm also in the crowd of being a little bit more conservative, even though I do think Bitcoin and Ethereum are both going to run pretty strong in this next move. Now, the question will be, do you invest in spot trades, or do you look at something like an ETF? A lot of people are going into the ETFs, and if you look at just this headline, Wall Street Milestone ETF popularity now hits record numbers. And the reason I think all this is happening and when I see ETFs, we don't have a Bitcoin ETF right now, but we do have crypto ETFs, in other words, companies that are related to this. But what they talk about here was the industry hit a milestone with more than 3,000 ETFs. So if you're trading on general, traditional securities, this is one of the ways that a lot of people are investing. This was a 30% increase since December 2020. So that in itself, I think, and imagine if we had a Bitcoin ETF. I mean, I think more and more people, again, would probably be another explosion there. But they are in a position where a lot of investors don't want to necessarily do the deep dives. Let me tell you this, guys. To be able to front run these opportunities, you've got to go in and do the research. You've got to do the deep dives. And the reason is that you're going to get a chance to make those life-changing gains. And that's the difference between someone who's investing in these ETFs. Don't forget that these ETFs charge you fees. So you've got fees involved. You've got a scenario where you may not necessarily see, these multi-X gains when you're running and really understanding the market as a whole. And listen, it's just investing. It's just your future. Hopefully you're thinking in a framework that you say, needs to be one of my pastime or my hobbies if you're not into this every day. But it needs to be something that you're really understanding, and that's the technology side of it, as well as how it applies to what's happening in both crypto, Web3, and what we cover here on the channel so much. I think it's very important. Crypto ETF delivered over 100% gains in 2023, and this is one of the reasons you should buy it. So this, of course, is Valkyrie. Talked a little bit. This was their miners ETF, WGMI. It's the best performing fund in 2023, gains over 100% in January. Now, again, granted, this market was down. We saw the correction that has started to occur, and good for them. I think this is the kind of thing that it does put people in more of that comfort zone. I'd love to know if you guys are investing in ETFs. I'm going to guess before the poll that maybe not as much, but I could be wrong here. Best Bitcoin ETFs of 2023, if you do decide to want to go in this direction. Here's a whole list right here. You got ProShares in there. You guys, we talk about these guys all the time. 570 million in assets. You got Valkyrie there, 19 million. Not a lot, but again, a good one. There's Van Ack at 21 million, and then Advisor Shares at 235,000. So not a ton of these, but again, these are at least. There's a Bitcoin short Bitcoin ETF, the Biddy, 103 million. Pretty big on these. So again, like I said, don't know if you are into ETFs. Would you go into an ETF if we saw a spot ETF on Bitcoin? Probably, I would still think that it's going to be the major next generation adopters of crypto in general, people that don't necessarily know a lot about it just yet, or they're just beginning their journey, and they're just getting to the point where they understand what's happening in the space and why these opportunities are so big. Here's one right here. This, of course, is coming from, I think, a hedge fund manager, but something you need to know about the ETF. Expert hedge funds that actively manage money were outperformed by passive approach in the S&P 500 ETFs. So there's that too. You've got both sides of the plate playing into this. There's always the safe conservative route. I think many of you guys would look at that. I always look at it this way. It's much like when you're doing your mutual funds. Maybe you have a risk portfolio and a non-risk portfolio. Maybe that's the scenario that you need to play out in your overall investing strategy. Some other things to this is crypto fear and greed. A little bit around some FOMO spiking right there. As it spikes right there, you can kind of see the Bitcoin price right around 20,022 at the time. It was starting to take off. And of course, Bitcoin started to fly there over 23K over the weekend. And then fear and greed spiked dramatically. So now some of you probably traded on Bitcoin last Friday when we dropped the sentiment numbers, which was kind of an interesting point. Friday's sentiment numbers showed that amplification clipping up over average charts. And if you're following our Substack, which by the way, guys, go over to our Substack for you. I'm going to show it to you. It's just pbn3.substack.com. You'll find us there. This is actually where our diamond circle is now. And we actually dropped a couple of things over the weekend. This was one of them, which was our Bitcoin breaking new sentiment barrier. I actually charted this out for you. You get all this included in your membership there, or if you are wanting to kind of ramp up. I did an audio note that broke down this chart on Saturday when Bitcoin started moving, and then showed you what happened here on Friday is what we were looking at of where Bitcoin could possibly make a little bit of a run. So we dropped this out on Saturday for you. If you were listening or out there on our Substack, you found it, and hopefully you did. And if you're part of the Diamond Circle, kudos. You guys understand what's going on. We've really started to migrate a lot more content. We've got a new writer over there. You guys probably know Kyle Wilson. He's now going to be hosting and co-hosting with me on a Web3 show here on this. He also is co-hosting our Diamond Circle podcast, which if you go over again and hit the Diamond Circle podcast, you'll see these right here. We dropped one this morning, Bitcoin shifts trending entire market. Actually, that was yesterday. And then we did some sentiment analysis over there for you guys. So fun stuff. If you're not in it, get on it. Over to, let's take a look here. Fear and greed. Yeah, this is 61, still holding fairly decent, even though we've seen a big market correction today. And again, I think this is leaning into what will happen on Wednesday with the FOMC. Love to get your feedback. Do you think we'll see another run beyond 23K in a strong position? Because I think we're still floating around 23K right now. With Bitcoin and Ethereum. Remember, Ethereum has not necessarily had the same kind of experience that Bitcoin has had in this last couple of days. So I don't know. Love to get your feedback on that. Let me pull up the charts real quick too. Let me see what that was, because here's ETH, just kind of that sideways action. We did get a little bit of a move right here on Friday for Ethereum, but a lot of sideways in this down big red candle right now. Bitcoin, of course, facing that red candle correction right now as we're down 4% on the day. So this is crazy. Love it. Yeah, we are going to see tons of transactions coming into the space for sure. All right, let me jump over here to another piece here. This was the crypto ETFs kind of roar into life. This, I think, is going to get probably some attention from early investors, and I say early investors in crypto, maybe it's their first time, in the sense that these ETFs are a safe zone for them somewhat, and it gives them a little bit more comfort as opposed to going out on an exchange, buying a token they may not know anything about, as opposed to investing in the ecosystem around it, even though in many cases they don't know what Bitcoin mining is just yet. If you're new, stick around on this show, because we will give you a lot of alpha and help you kind of level up your game on understanding where these markets are going in a big way. The other one that I would love to pay attention to is Ark. I'm going to just feature something that was said on this. This is resin 25%. This is the Ark Innovation ETF. Remember that Cathie Wood was one of the first to really look at innovative tech. And one of the things, she's been in the Tesla camp for a long time, along with a lot of other innovative technologies, some of which have crashed and burned in this, this market correction. But when I look at what Wood is doing, she understands the future and where we're going to see kind of this next level up opportunity. And whether she's investing in Coinbase, which she just moved some stuff out of GBTC last week, that's the Bitcoin Trust, Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust, for those of you that don't know. But when you look at moving out of that and into something like Coinbase, this tells me that she has faith that there's going to be new entries coming into the market, meaning new investors. And that is getting ready, because right now the market is bottoming. That is being able to buy these bottoms, even if it goes down further, even another 10, 15%, if we saw those kind of dips. This is setting you up for those, those face melters in terms of recovery. Watch my video with Mark Yusko. We did it last week, and Mark had a lot of interesting points here. He's very bullish right now, as is Dr. Barrett. We talked about that with Jeff as well. And you look at those, and even Lynn Alden to a certain extent. Gareth and Evan have kind of been on the bear side. Question is, do we see Bitcoin hit 20K again? Or will we continue to see this new fluctuation zone above 20,000? That's what we're watching closely, because I think this starts to play into new dollar cost average points of where you might enter. So love to get your feedback on it. Ark Invest predicting a market rebound, says crypto assets to become valued for scarcity in an age of abundance. This is something we talk about all the time here on the channel, is that Bitcoin is the way. Little Mandalorian there. We believe there are all kinds of signals pointing to a lower inflation, which suggests that the Fed should pivot soon. This is something that Yusko said also, is that he felt, and even Gerber also, and I'll show you a tweet on Gerber about this, is that the adjustment is probably going to be taking place around mid-year. And if that occurs at that time, mid-year could be the point where we see it. Remember what we talk about here in risk assets. They're usually the first to respond to these kind of things, where some of the traditional securities, gold, other things in the markets don't respond necessarily in the same way. In other words, Bitcoin is the first to take heat, but it's also the first one to come out of the heat. So an interesting point. Bond investors who are very sensitive to inflation try to protect themselves against it. What they're saying is, we believe the Fed is going to pivot. My question to you, after we see FOMC this week, I think we might have a good picture, at least in the sense of seeing, Powell pull off the foot off the neck. Because in the last two FOMCs, he has been very adamant. Nope, price stability, and we're going to keep the hammer down. That, I think, might change, and we might get a glimpse of it on Wednesday. If that happens, get ready, because I think we'll see a little pump run. After that, we're going to be watching sentiment very closely on Wednesday, because this is going to be an interesting one, because that's a day we drop sentiment as well. We're going to wait till later in the afternoon to pull what happens after the FOMC and see how that holds up leading into it. This was Brett Winton also that said Ark Invest chief futurist also predicts in the same video that public blockchains and crypto assets will also become even more differentiated for their scarcity in this whole age of abundance. And as you guys know, this is kind of what sets this market apart. It's also what makes this market so unique, in the sense that it's an opportunity because you can become your own bank. It is a new revolution, an evolution, I think, in the monetary system. You guys all know this. Where I think we're going to see the major shifts in these markets is when Web3 and utility connect with companies and enterprise. Because when that happens, finally, the normies, the regular people that are looking at this, they'll start to see this happening in mainstream companies, and they will begin to connect the dots. It happens in the innovation tech side. It already has happened. If you look at the investors that went into Microsoft, Google, the four horsemen, I think it's going to happen in the crypto space as well. Here's Ross Gerber. He's talking about the Fed's backward-looking policy making means in June, they'll be forced to basically lower rates. Now, that would be a big one. If we see a rate reversal in June, that is the beginning of the bull market. In my opinion, that's where we'll start to see the real movement. And this, again, is them trying to offset the recession. But this is something that Macro Alf and I kind of went back and forth on Twitter over the weekend, and it's a good argument. In fact, I think we covered that on the, we did cover that on our Substack. So check it out, because the point Macro Alpha was making is that he still feels that recession has not quite plugged in. If he's right, this will be the shortest recession maybe in the history of our country. So this will be interesting. You can kind of see the chart here of where Gerber thinks this is going. So the inflation trend is clearly broken. If the Fed was smart, they would hold rates right where they are and then let it go. Now, you got to remember, Gerber, he's a fund manager, so he benefits from softer inflation and the Fed pulling off, because, of course, the markets go up. And, so many times there's somewhat of a manifestation here when we hear a lot of these analysts coming in on this stuff. Last up here is the SEC, of course, bad news, rejecting Ark, 21 share spot Bitcoin for a second time. At some point, the SEC, I feel like they're going to approve one of these ETFs. And at that point, then it's going to get really interesting for sure. All right, so let's get, right? I got a lot of good questions coming in today. Let's get over to the poll real quick and take a look, and then we'll take a look at some sentiment as well. All right, so here we go. Would you ever consider investing in any crypto-related ETF? Okay, see, I knew you guys were right. You manage your own portfolio because you know that we are front-running the opportunity here, without a doubt. That's the big thing that I think a lot of people miss on where the market is going, as you guys get a chance to see this in a completely different way, for sure. All right, we're going to take a few questions, and I want to jump over to what Jen is saying. Yeah, here we go. Jen says, please interview. Man, Jen, we would love to get Kathy. I think she's going to grow her investment portfolio in Web3 because she is that, and her team. If you just look at her analyst team, these people are all under the age of 35. They get what is happening. They know what's happening in Web3 and the integration of retail, the integration of enterprise. It's going to become an issue. It's just like when the internet took hold. It's like when the mobile web took hold. It's like when social took hold. Web3 is no different. It's another technology layer that has been stacked on reality and social behavior. All of that will start to shift for sure. Joshua says, I say metaverse stuff has the biggest potential. You know, I had a good article or a good meeting with Kate Irwin. She's a writer over at Decrypt today. We recorded it. I'm going to drop that video with her later this afternoon. Listen to that video because she has some good points. You know, as a journalist, her position is a little bit more neutral on metaverse than mine. I still feel that metaverse is very early, but at the same time has a lot of potential. It's going to be an interesting, you know, struggle between VR and all that. But I agree with you. A500G. I watched the show 2 years. Wow, thanks a lot, man. Never left a comment. So here we go. Well, 2 years, I don't know, 1,400 episodes later, and you just now come in and leave a comment. Woo! Let's hope other people don't do that. That's definitely a voyeur. That's someone sitting back and just relaxing. But anyway, Render. Yes, Render, I like that one. I'm glad that was you saw it first. And Seek too, you saw Seek on there. This was during our big metaverse portfolio breakout video that we did. I think it was like a 1 million view video. And we did a full breakout for it. We will continue to do those for you throughout these runs because I just did one here early this year. We did a couple of, actually we did one update. We're going to do another update for you. If you're in our Diamond Circle or in our Mastermind group, we do a lot more updates to those groups in there. But anyway, good stuff. Green Day says long-term on DOT. You know, DOT worried me a little bit. It had a nice little rebound here though recently. Let me see if I can pull up sentiment on DOT. Today it's been down, but it's been, the problem with Polkadot is this right here. Let me kind of zoom in on this a little bit with this, is that it flies so far under the overall market. This tells me this is an underperforming project, which sometimes is a good thing because you can get it when the price is adjusted down. And with that, it does give some opportunities because sometimes you catch these in their, you know, kind of their nascent stage or their hibernation stage in these markets. And then you get, you know, a 20x or a 50x run. Why would it, okay, here's a good one. Crypto Bureau, why would I let someone else manage my financial freedom? See, these are the kind of people I love. You guys know what's up, and this is what's up. It's what we're trying to do here is educate the masses and help them realize that there's another way. This is all here in front of us right now with the technology that is at position. When I explain crypto in the framework like that to people who are non-crypto, but they're crypto curious right now, that is the first thing they realize is they don't need a bank. And when that aha moment sets in, it's magical. And I think you guys, of course, know that. Oliver comes back. You pulled out on the, yeah, I pulled out a little bit on Render. Render's been one that I'm watching. I go in and out of Render right now. I got about half a bag left with Render. The thing I'm looking at though, and we've shown this with our shows on Render, is the potential there and the upside. Remember, you know, Octane X, big opportunity here around decentralizing what I think will be the Web3 solutions of the future. Remember, we are very early. Render, Arweave, those kind of projects are going to be absolutely on fire in this next run. Those are the two that I really like, along with some others. If you guys would like a portfolio show update this week, we may do it for you. Hit the like button right now. If we smash a bunch of likes, then I know you guys want it, and we'll do one for you. We also have a big lineup this week, of course, with the FOMC Live, so make sure and tune in to that one. We'll do Evan. We got Evan coming on this week. I'm sure he's going to give me some kind of bearish signal because he's very bearish sometimes. But anyway, he's going to come in. We're going to do a full altcoin show for you. And then also We have Kyle Wilson coming onto the network. He'll be with us every week. We're going to be doing a lot of things on Web3 over on the Metaverse set. So check Kyle out. If you're not following him out on Twitter, you should be. Just search for Kyle Wilson. Tell him we sent you. He's one of our new project analysts and hosts. Does some writing for our Substack. Going to be a big part of the team. All right, we love you guys. This is going to be a big week. Get ready. Don't get panicky with everything that's happening. Make sure and jump into the Diamond Circle. Get your part of the game going. We got to front and run these opportunities. This is the time to do it. If you guys want to follow me, it's out there on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.